I am 11 years old all over again. Oh, my God. I hated him so much when I was a kid, and I love him so much as an adult. He is one of the promoters, one of the leaders of Real American Freestyle. He is a 2021 WWE Hall of Famer, and he is the only man in 50 years to go head-to-head with Vince McMahon and beat him for 83 weeks, which is the name of the podcast that he hosts. Ladies and gentlemen, on the fan hotline this morning, Eric Bischoff joins us on the show. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Hey, it's great to be here. That music just brings such fond memories. Thank you for that intro.
Do you ever get tired of hearing it?
No, never at all. It's like it's the first time I've ever heard it. Each time I hear it, I love it.
What's it like for a guy like you where, like, again, I said I'm 11 years old all over again, and I mean, I would tune into Nitro, and Tony Schiavone would be talking, and all of a sudden your music would come out, and you'd come out in the leather jacket, and you'd be doing the We're Not Worthy to Hogan, and I hated your guts at 11 years old, and now I'm 39, and I'm going, I just love this guy. I just absolutely love this guy. What's it like to be that type of figure for so many Americans across the country?
It's been fun. It's been a fun journey. You know, I embraced that heel character early on, and it felt very comfortable to me, and I loved it. You know, when you're a performer, I'm sure it's true for musicians and athletes in other sports and other forms of entertainment. But when you're out there in a 20-foot by 20-foot squared ring, smack dab in the middle of 10, 15, 20, 30, 40,000 people, and you manipulate that emotion, you create that energy with your performance. It's a very cool connection, and it's hard to explain, but I loved it and I miss it, but I look back on it fondly now. It was an amazing experience. I was blessed.
Do you ever notice, though, when everybody always likes to look back, it's the same thing in sports where we all say, hey, our formative years, that was when sports were at its peak. That's when we get nostalgic. Yet we've had all these newer eras of wrestling and promotions. Do you draw back to the good old days when you talk about wrestling, or do you think there are big-time merits to how the sport has evolved?
Oh, I love the way the sport has evolved. When you look at the business of the sports entertainment business, I can't even call it professional wrestling anymore because actually Real American Freestyle is legitimate professional wrestling, but people get it confused. So I refer to what we're familiar with out of WWE, for example, as sports entertainment, but it's evolved so much. The storytelling, the athleticism, the entire presentation in terms of production values, and obviously the impact, I should say, that it's made on a global television audience. This truly American phenomenon called professional wrestling or sports entertainment has become as much of what people outside of the United States consider Americana or American entertainment as anything. It's pretty fascinating to watch the evolution grow. But to your point, you know, it's like you said, man, when I was 11 years old, I'd sit with my friends and my family, and I hated you and this guy, and I love this guy. That made a strong emotional impression on you, and you're going to always harken back to that. It's like macaroni and cheese, dude. I love really, really great food. I love going to 4-star restaurants and finding the best food I can find, but there's nothing like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich sometimes. And I think that's what happens with sports and with professional sports entertainment or anything else that you reflect back on. Music is the same thing.
Eric Bischoff joining us here on the show. So the promotion is Real American Freestyle Wrestling. It comes to the Wolstein Center August 30th. What got you involved? I mean, you're a man who's accomplished a lot. You could just kind of retire, hang out, do the podcast. What got you involved in this?
First of all, I'm very competitive, and I like building things. And when I got a call from Hulk Hogan, who I've remained close friends with for such a long time, and he said, hey, me and my other business partner, Hulk has got a business partner by the name of Chad Bronstein in his Real American Beer business. Chad has got a strong amateur wrestling background. His son is involved in amateur wrestling, and Chad's passionate about it. So Chad and Hulk were talking about, hey, what if we start a professional freestyle wrestling league? Hulk gave me a call, and I was in. I mean, I was in within 35 or 40 seconds because I know the potential. I wrestled in high school for a couple of years. I wrestled out of high school for a couple of years in AAU Freestyle and Greco. I know the type of people that are at that elite level of amateur wrestling, and they're very, very unique people. They've got great stories, and they're phenomenal athletes. And that's what I'm here to do, is to bring those personalities out so that the world gets to know these athletes and appreciate them for what they are, and tell a great story. So I couldn't wait to sink my teeth into this, to be honest with you. It's risky. You know, starting a professional sports league comes with all of the challenges one can imagine and many that you can't. But wow, what an opportunity. I'm so excited for it.
You're the perfect person to ask this. Eric Bischoff joining us now on the hotline, because I had always thought, as somebody who kind of paid attention to actual wrestling, like in high school with my buddies, or I covered it in college when I was at Ohio State, and they had some really, really strong wrestlers. I often thought that they got short shrift from the public because the WWE, WWF, WCW, that's what people grew up with. They had that true entertainment and, you know, the athleticism, and guys oftentimes that did wrestle in their past lives. And I always felt bad for the actual wrestlers, especially like the Olympic wrestlers. I thought they should have been larger than life. And I think there is a way that we can love both of these, right? There are ways that we can promote both of these, understand the differences. And in fact, you're seeing more and more of a crossover.
No, you are. And I think one of the things that really excited me is if you just step back and kind of look at the growth of combat sports, and particularly the UFC and the success that the UFC had. Well, if you look at a lot of the UFC champions, the ones that stand out, I'll just throw out John Jones as an example, many of the top challengers or champions have an amateur wrestling background. Freestyle wrestling, amateur wrestling is the foundation. Bo Nichols said it best. It's one of the cornerstones of MMA. And I think because MMA has become so popular and fans have become so much more knowledgeable, that now fans can appreciate the level of ability of elite freestyle wrestlers and Olympic wrestlers, as you mentioned. Now is the platform, because I think the interest is there probably in the sport now because of combat sports. And we're the newest entry in the combat sports category. And it's an exciting spot to be in. But I think because of the popularity of MMA and combat sports, freestyle wrestling is going to find its own audience.
Yeah, I'm curious for the people that are going to be showing up to this or might be on the fence, other than the actual wrestling, and we know we're going to see some legitimate, awesome wrestling. What can the people expect on a jam-packed night of entertainment?
Well, it's like one of the things that you don't get when you see the NCAA finals this past spring. You know, you don't get to know the athletes. We're going to present Real American Freestyle in a format that's similar to what you would expect in the UFC. You're going to see packages where you really get to know these athletes. You know, Chael Sonnen is our color commentator, obviously extremely well-known guy, got a lot of credibility both as a freestyle wrestler, amateur wrestler, and in MMA, given his association with UFC. We've got another big surprise that we're going to be announcing probably tomorrow that's going to be joining us, but you're going to see a much more entertaining presentation of freestyle wrestling than you've ever seen anywhere else. You're going to see things, you're going to learn things that you won't learn typically watching, you know, NCAA wrestling or even Olympic wrestling coverage.
Eric Bischoff joining us here on the Fan Hotline. So as this starts to pick up off the ground, I mean, again, it's going to be at the Wolstein Center on August 30th. You can go to realamericanfreestyle.com to buy tickets for this event. When it comes to television, when it comes to being able to see it online, where could people possibly go here in the future?
You know, I wish I could tell you, because it's like the best kept secret in television right now. And we'll be making an announcement on the 21st but you will be able to find it on television. All that information will be coming out very, very soon. We're excited about it. We just want to wait and announce it on the 21st.
When it comes to sports entertainment, professional wrestling, I mean, you were a big part of one of the rebirths of pro wrestling. You know, it's cyclical. It comes, it goes with the general public. What do you think of the current product right now as it sits with everything, not just WWE, but with everything going on?
Well, I mean, undeniable success. I mean, I'm talking specifically about WWE. Everybody else is kind of in the game, but don't really matter. You know, if you look at AEW and TNA, they're in the industry, but they're not really a factor. When you look at WWE, just look at their international television footprint, and especially now with Netflix. You look at the events that they're producing. I mean, the business of the sports entertainment business is absolutely staggering. It never ceases to amaze me. The action, you know, there's so much more wrestling now that to me, it kind of all looks the same to a degree, but the characters are more interesting than I think they've ever been. The storylines are far more disciplined and detailed than they ever have been. It's just fascinating to watch. It really is.
I'm just curious, Eric, you've been around so long and you have so many great stories and just great background. So I think you'd be a perfect person to ask this question. Who are your favorite actual wrestling announcers?
Ooh, that's an easy one in some respects. You know, in terms of color commentators, I don't think anybody will ever live up to the expectations and the standard that Bobby Heenan set. Bobby Heenan, I think, was one of the best. When it comes to play-by-play, hard to deny Jim Ross as the voice. You know, Michael Cole is doing a great job in WWE right now, but Jim Ross has got one of those voices. It's like that macaroni and cheese thing, only for your ears. You know, you hear Jim Ross's voice and it just brings back so many memories, and he has so much credibility. So those are the two that stand out to me the most.
All right. Who is a guy, Eric, that, you know, we've seen so many wrestlers have different personas until they hit, you know, obviously stunning Steve Austin. Who's a guy, though, that you thought should have connected, but for whatever reason, the gimmick, for whatever reason, just never did?
Oh, gosh, there's a million of them, and some of them are still friends of mine. So
How about an enemy? Somebody who's an enemy instead.
Yeah, go ahead. It don't matter.
No, I'll tell you one that I think about often because he is such a close friend of mine. Ernest the Cat Miller. Now, that's not a name that, you know, people are going to go, oh, I remember Ernest the Cat Miller, because Ernest was really only in the business for a couple of years. And I had to talk him into getting into professional wrestling. He's a martial artist, still is, competitive. But he was a active, very high ranked world champion kickboxer. I was my son's karate instructor, and I met Ernest when I dropped my kid off to karate one day, and I went, man, this guy's got personality. He's an amazing athlete. I got my black belt, you know, back in '79, and I was a kickboxer for a few years, so I could recognize what he brought to the table athletically and in terms of his martial arts ability. So I said, Ernest, man, I got an idea for you. And it took me like 3 weeks to talk him into even coming down and just stepping into the ring and feeling it out. But he took to it like a fish to water. He had so much charisma. He got so good. But I think he came in about a year or two late. Had he come in a couple years earlier, I think he would have been one of the bigger names in the late 90s. Just timing. Sometimes timing is everything.
During the 83 weeks where you beat the WWE, what were you most proud of during that stretch?
I think recreating the television format. And, you know, if you're not in the television business, those words don't really register. You don't really know what it means. But if you go back and you look at WWE's product up until about 1996, 97, it was a teen and preteen product, meaning all their characters, their storylines, their entire presentation was targeted specifically to a teen and preteen audience because that's where their ad dollars were. That's where their licensing was. That's where the ticket sales were, because mom and dad have to buy the tickets to bring the kids to wrestling. So that was all their focus. When I launched Nitro in 1995, I knew I couldn't compete with them for that teen and preteen audience. So I put all of my resources and focus on men 18 to 49. That was the thing that changed the business, to the extent that what you're watching today is a reflection of the changes that I made in presenting Nitro. The reason I was able to beat WWE 83 weeks in a row, I beat them a lot more than 83 weeks, but 83 weeks in a row, was because I changed the format and the focus. Eventually, so did WWE. It became the Attitude Era. They basically mimicked our format. And I think that probably had the most significant change in the professional wrestling industry that we've seen in the last 50 years, to be honest with you.
The website, realamericanfreestyle.com. That's where you can go to buy tickets. It's at the Wolstein Center, August 30th. Some of the great, great wrestlers that you will ever see at this event coming up on August 30th at the Wolstein Center. The great one, Eric Bischoff, with us on the show. Eric, thank you so much for the time. All the very best to you.
Great, man. Appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you all there. 10 new world champions being crowned in the first ever Real American Freestyle event. You don't want to miss that. Combat sports' newest entry.
Absolutely awesome. Eric Bischoff, thank you very much for the time. Eric Bischoff, the great one on the fan hotline